Hello, lads and ladies, and welcome back for another live stream. Monday night means one thing: League Two live. Lots of games, lots of action, lots of goals, drama at the top. Put Vail win again, Doncaster win away at Bradford City. MK Dons newly revitalised under Scott Lindsay as well. So much action, a couple of nil-nils there as well. To join me to discuss all things League Two is the main man, JK Analysis. Jack, how are we doing, mate?
I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, as well as can be. Wow. So, okay, I'd like to open the show before we get into it as a dedication. I'd like to dedicate the show to my cameraman, but also a good friend and someone that's been like a dad figure at the football to me. Tony, also known as the Tricky Tone, a regular viewer on these live shows every week without fail, would film, go out of his way, come out of his house early on home games, sometimes meet me 3-4 hours before games to get filming done. Sadly passed away over the weekend. I wasn't going to do this show, but Tony was a big fan of when I wanted to give this League Two show up at the start of the season and was going to give YouTube up at the end of last season after how Fleetwood was. So I'd like to dedicate this show to Tony. I've done as much as I can prep-wise. If I'm not quite as on it today, there has been issues. So I'd just like to dedicate it to Tony, who meant an awful lot to me. So we will get on with the show, but I just wanted to dedicate this show to Tony, and my best wishes go to his family. Jack, a weekend in League Two. How did you find it, mate?
Yeah, there was not many surprises, but I think some fan bases are turning a bit toxic now, which I'll expect. But I think there was a lot of goals, more than normally, anyway.
Yeah, well, there wasn't any at Fleetwood, was there?
No.
Let me know if you can see and hear me in the chat as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. And if you could like and do all that stuff, that'd be greatly appreciated. We have got two supporters on tonight from Doncaster and Swindon. Doncaster, a great result away at Bradford at the weekend as well. Swindon Town newly appointed Ian Holloway. I think he's 12 games away from 1,000 games in playing and in management as well. He's played in the Premier League down to League Two and also managed in the Premier League down to League Two. So he's had an illustrious career. League One was with Plymouth, Bristol Rovers. League Two, obviously, with Grimsby. Championship, Palace, Blackpool, and Premier League, obviously, with Blackpool as well. And very unfortunate to come down. So be very interested to hear. We will start off with Morecambe against Chesterfield, which was an absolute thriller, by the way. Following the 5-2 win at Morecambe, Chesterfield have now scored more league away goals than any club in the EFL. 28 goals in total, 18 of those have come on the road. 9 different scorers for those 28 goals. And 13 out of 22 points have come away this season as well. Now unbeaten in 8. All 3 of their wins in that 8-game period, Jack, have come away from home. Can't quite buy a win at home. Great period for them. And Chesterfield was winless in their last 4 away games against Morecambe, drawing 2, losing 2 going into this as well. And this is the best run since March 2016 when they were last in the EFL, when 4 games unbeaten now, 3 wins and a draw.
Yeah, I mean, we say this for most weeks. It's the home form that is probably letting Chesterfield down a bit this season, not converting them draws into wins. But look, with that front line, they're bound to score goals. And I didn't think that Chesterfield would do it in the fashion they did against Morecambe because, they've been quite tough to break down Morecambe. That's how they've, got the majority of the points. And yeah, Chesterfield went there. They didn't give up when Morecambe, I think, pulled it back to 1-1, and then I think they pulled it back to 2-2, and then obviously Chesterfield then scored the 3. But as a lot of people have highlighted, it's the strength from the bench. Berry coming on, could have scored 2, an outrageous attempt that hit the crossbar. Dobra comes on and Grimes comes on. They all get a goal, and they also complement them players with the attacking system. in possession, going to a 3-2-5, sort of leaving the Aldacre Metcalf double pivot. Gordon sort of slots in, and then Daly Campbell pushes on to the last line defence, and you've got sort of Dobra and Markandy not just coming deep, but also going beyond Paddy Madden or Will Grigg. So, the attacking strengths are being utilised, and they have to be honest, because I speak to a Chesterfield fan on Twitter, and it's clear to say that the weakness of Chesterfield is the defence, and outscoring sides will win Chesterfield a lot of games this season.
I just think they switch off in key moments. I think that's their issue. That they are a very good side, but one moment of a cross into the box, typical League Two, and that's where they've got to adapt. Where maybe they're not quite getting away with it where they were last year at times as well. They scored 5 goals from an expected goals of 0.87, which is ridiculous, and they could have had 6 or 7. Morecambe were in the game again. I think the story of it that Morecambe, the ownership there is absolutely terrible. Jason Whittingham has put the club up for sale apparently 25 months ago, and they are still in an absolute mess. Under 16s are being searched the other day, and I know they put a statement out about that over the weekend as well, and it's just not right. And Morecambe are a small football club, but they're a proud football club, a community football club, and I'm a Fleetwood fan that is direct rivals with Morecambe. I want to see Morecambe fit, available to play, and could I rather play Morecambe to play in Bromley? I'll be honest with, and I think Morecambe are a good club. I've got nothing but good things to say. I think Derek Adams is a good manager, and showed his quality as well. So very interested to see what happens with Morecambe. Morecambe is still yet to win at home. What do you think about them? Because yet again they scored 2 goals in a game, but conceded 5, and you look at the games they've had, the chances they conceded, they could have conceded 3 or 4 against Fleetwood, and in other games as well, they've been slightly unlucky in games to lose, but in a lot of games they've been slightly fortunate where they've only conceded a couple of goals.
Yeah, definitely. I think Derek Adams, you don't want Morecambe to be like any other, sides like Harrogate or Accrington, where they might sit off teams. Like he openly said against Notts County, no one put pressure on them, and he wanted to go there and play with a high press. And against Fleetwood, he gambled in that first half, played a very high line. He got punished, but then with good subs, he pulled it back. And I think he's just taking more risks because he knows that maybe they won't do as well if they just sit back and just soak up the pressure when teams get on top of them. But they've got quality at the top end of the pitch, which I thought I won't really associate with Morecambe this season.
No.
Marcus Dackers came from Salford. He weren't really rated, but I've really liked him, sort of a raw talent. Ben Tollett has got 5 goals and assists now. 4 of them came in the last 5 games, and he won the free kick to score. Lewis on the left, he's got a really good cross on him. So there is quality there to kind of punish sides. And Morecambe, obviously, they got beat 5-2 by Chesterfield, but it's not to say that they didn't have chances of their own. And if you're going to switch off defensively, then a team like Chesterfield is going to punish you. But like you said, they're still scoring goals, and after the first 4 games, they didn't score a goal. So I don't think Morecambe are as bad as people may make out. But like you said, it's the off the field situation that is still trying to bring the club down when they're trying to be just trying to stay positive, and when Adams is trying to get the sort of fans and plays together with the club, but then sort of Morecambe fans are thinking, well, our owner's a bit of a prat, so
Yeah,
it's going to be all hostile again, and then that relationship's going to get separated.
I do really appreciate every comment that has come in. It does mean a lot to me, so thank you so much for them as well. And believe me that I wasn't going to do this tonight, but I've done it, and here we are as well. So yeah. We will talk on to Doncaster Rovers in a minute as well. And we'll start off. And I've just literally watched the highlights back, and goalkeeping error again from Bradford. Sam Walker, he's made a couple now this season as well. And there must be a thing with goalkeeping errors in Bradford. Lewis, who's now at Carlisle, made a few for Carlisle. It seems to be all right for Bradford. He's just gone to Carlisle. And That's Bradford's first loss in 10 home games, and they'd won 7 and drawn 2 previously to that as well. And they kept 4 clean sheets in that time, and they've never conceded more than once in that time as well. So Doncaster to go away from home and win 2-1. You know, Molyneux with a lovely goal as well, but goalkeeper should do better. It's well worked. Who's got a couple of assists and was really involved. And then Billy Sharp and still going really, you know, aging like fine wine. Against a Bradford side that have been in really good form. Doncaster have now just lost 2 of their last 13 away games. You know, one was away at Harrogate, and that's the only time they failed to score in the last 19 league away games as well. If you go back to last year, Jack, they've won 18 of the last 25, which is absolute phenomenal form. Molyneux now 9 goal contributions, and we will be getting a Doncaster fan in the next 30 seconds. But if you had to give me your quick overriding opinions, I know that you've got a bit of a love relationship with the Rovers faithful, and I can see why, because you look a really good outfit.
Yeah, it's just obviously frustrating, which obviously I'll ask Danny soon when he comes on. It's just frustrating that they struggle against low blocks, Harrogate and Bromley. I think they've only lost 3 matches this season, and 2 of them came against Bromley and Harrogate, 2 sides that sitting. And it's just that when obviously they have that attacking spark, it's just letting them down when they face a side that will camp in and they don't really have the solutions to break them down.
Absolutely. Let's bring him in then. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. We'll sort a way to bring him in. Just give us 1 minute. Danny, I believe you are here with us. How are we doing? Is he here? He's not here. Brilliant. He will be here in a minute anyway. I'll get on to that. Talk me through it. How are Doncaster going through this form as I try and sort out my technology? Bloody hell.
Well, they've obviously got the attacking force that's probably the best in the league alongside Chesterfield. And, you know, they're going through Jay McGrath, who's a young centre half at the back. And they used to have Anderson there, but he's not played, and also Richard Wood, 2 experienced centre halves. So they've got, I think, good 2 athletic centre halves at the back rather than 2 robust, experienced ones. And then, you know, either side they've got Fleming and Sterry. So defensively and going forward, I think that they have got good players there, and you know that the attack will get spotlight, but I think the defence is pretty solid too.
Absolutely. I think he's here with us now. Danny, how are we? I need to now bring Kershaw back in, but talk me through Doncaster's start to the season. Can you hear me? Talk me through Doncaster's start to the season then, Danny. Oh, he's on mute. I can't hear him. I can't hear him. Welcome to Cos Vlogs. Welcome to Cos Vlogs, everyone. No, I can't hear you, Danny. No problem. We will get Danny on. But going back to Bradford, it's been a tough start for them, hasn't it? When you look at it, when they play some tough sides, I still don't know what to make of them, because 1 minute they're really good, the next minute quite flat.
Yeah, definitely. And they played Cheltenham, that they got a draw. Cheltenham is sort of like an informed side, and maybe, you know, going to Cheltenham, it doesn't look like a bad draw. But then, you know, off the back of that, they're coming into this with really good form, beating some sides at Valley Parade. And, you know, that's what they need to do, make Valley Parade a fortress. And we had Sam on last week. He said that they're getting goals from all areas, but it's obviously just trying to turn up in them big games and continue that form against the bigger sides, not just maybe the sides like Newport and sides like that.
Do you think this Bradford side will be up there at the end of the season under Graham Alexander? Because I still think Doncaster, I still think Port Vale, Doncaster, MK Dons, Chesterfield, Notts County are better than Bradford City. I think if Bradford are going to finish there, they'll finish 6th or 7th. I think automatic is maybe 1 step too far.
Yeah, definitely. I think they definitely got the squad and the manager to finish in the top 7. And yeah, I think automatic is just a bit too much, too far for Bradford at the moment. Definitely.
Yeah, agree. Danny, can you see
Can
me
you
and can you hear me all right?
can you hear me now?
I can
Yeah.
hear you now. Perfect. That is just what I
Yeah.
wanted to hear.
Sound sorry about that technology, yeah. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, yeah, about Donny, yeah, I heard you ask me about why by the start of the season. Yeah, it's been quite a solid start to be fair with you, but we seem to always struggle against these low blocking sides. You know, against sides that we should be winning. No disrespect, you know, to teams like Newport, Harrogate, and Bromley. Obviously, you know, it's just them low blocking sides that we struggle to break down. Kind of saying that, we always do well against sides who were probably equal to ourselves, such as Port Vale and just gone Bradford, obviously. So, yeah, like I said, we just keep seem to struggle against teams who we should be really be beating, really.
Ask you why do you think that is? Because I think the same about Fleetwood. I think when we can't break a side down at home, I think we struggle to unlock a back door. But when Doncaster have got the players let you have in midfield, especially and in attack, why do you think you're better against sides that are better than you or as good as you? Is it because you think there's less pressure, or they come at you a little bit and it leaves gaps at good
Yeah, that's
experienced
it.
players?
No, there you go. You just said it. I think for me, it's because they come out and try and play as well, kind of, and so it leaves that space for us to play. Whereas when we take on teams like Bromley, you know, no disrespect to them, they always seem to kind of like put 10 men behind the ball. So doing as much space, you know, in that final third, it's kind of like, yeah, like I said, they just play ultra defensive, and we just find it hard to create a chance, kind of. Even though I think we're one of the highest sides to have created the most chances in the league. You know, we're just not putting them away. So, I mean, the Bromley game, it could have ended 4-5-1 to us, but their keeper just seemed to have had one of them days. It was just one of them games, you know, where we could have played for another 24 hours and it wouldn't have gone in because their keeper was just, yeah, having one of them games. I tell you now, it was stupid. It was unreal, to be fair with you, but yeah.
Go on, Jack.
Well, obviously, I speak to Doncaster fans a lot on Twitter. Do you think
What a
you can
season
get that?
ticket, Danny, will you get him a season ticket, please?
I know, but we always said to him, you ought to come and sit with us. You know, he's always analysing our games. He's pretty good at it as well. To be fair with you, his Jack is he's only a young lad, and you lad, but
He's
Yeah.
yeah,
about
he
to
does
beat
a
us
pretty
all.
good job at analysing stuff. So yeah, go on anyway. What were you gonna say, mate?
Do you think you can win the title? Port Vale have started strong. Obviously, we're only about 12 games in, something like that so far this season. But like I said, you've got one of the best attacking lines. Jay McGrath is settling into first team
Unreal.
football very
Unit.
well.
He's an
Yeah.
absolute unit, him. I tell you now. He's a proper
So,
good defender, he is.
so do you think you can go and win the title? Do you think?
Well, I've always said this about us this season is we might not have the best 11 in the league, but we've certainly got the best 25 in the league. You know, I don't think we've got the best starting 11. Don't get me wrong. I think Vail and maybe even MK Dons have got a better starting 11 than us.
Mm.
But like I said, we've got a very good squad. Whenever somebody gets injured, there's always somebody just as good, um, kind of to come in and replace that injured player. You know, and even if there isn't somebody just as good to take over, the board have backed McCann into bringing somebody in just as good. You know, like when Maxwell got injured at left back, they brung Brandon Fleming in. You know,
Mm.
just dipped straight in. And it was same with when Tom Nixon got injured. There were only was Sterry, who was our only fit and available right back, so they went and got Josh Emmanuel. You know, a bit, you know, not exactly amazing, but still a decent League Two defender. So McCann's been given all the tools to succeed, really.
You say that he's been given all the tools to succeed. Billy Sharp obviously came in. Luke Molyneux stayed at the football club. What would you say is the big difference this year? Because last year, up till about February, you were quite poor. You were not doing so good for your standards that you want. What would you say the difference is this year? Do you think that 10 game last year changed the whole mood around the football club going into this year, although you didn't succeed in the playoffs?
See, thing is, people on the outside looking in last season would have thought that we weren't doing too good because of where we were in the league. But us as fans could see that the improvement from the season before, which was really poor. And we could see it. We just weren't getting the rub of the green. We just weren't getting the results to match the performances. But then, as soon as it did click from January onwards, we were starting to get the results as long as the performances, and that's why we shot up the league. I know the other teams above us started faltering, and which helped our cause into that playoff run. But yeah, we saw it, and we've carried that on this season. We've not been hit with injuries as much or anything. We've pretty much got an empty treatment room right now. We've pretty much got a full squad now again. I think there's only Richard Wood who's out at the minute. That's it. Richard Wood, that's it. That's the only person who's out injured at the minute. So we've got a full complement of squad. What can I say? That's the whole difference, really.
Go on, Kershaw.
Well, there's obviously a lot of attacking flair in that side. If you had to go with the front four, what front four would you go to out of, obviously, because, I mean, Carl Hurst probably wouldn't have been in the conversation much, but he got 2 assists against Bradford, performs well. He's back in the mix to get a start.
Yeah, thing is, with Kyle, is he is a good player. We saw glimpses of it when we first signed him from Birmingham as a young lad of a season. But I think, what can I say about Kirsty is he had a good pre-season, but we tried playing him in that number 10 role, just behind Billy Sharp or Joe Ironside, and it weren't really working for him. But he played a weekend against Bradford, and that was the Kyle as we know, and what we saw of the season. That little bit of turn of pace. He's a very fast player. But the front four, who will I go with? Obviously Molyneux for absolute starters on that right wing, absolutely. Just behind, again, it's like Clifton's done well in that number 10 role as well for me. We got Joe Sabara, who didn't even get in our 18. I mean, that's how much depth we have. It's just unreal. But front four, geez, mate, you put me on it here. Right, it's got Molyneux, Hurst on left. I actually go with Hurst because I think Gibson's a bit hot and cold at the minute. Clifton, I'm going to go with Clifton, just behind Sharp, actually. Yeah, that's me front four for me, personally.
Danny, thank you for giving up your time. Before you do go, how's it been this season? What would you say the best team you played is, and you think a team that might be up there with you, and maybe a side that you think, I'm worried for them at the other end?
I think Chesterfield did a job on us, to be fair with you.
Yeah.
Our place, we didn't turn up that game either. So, Chesterfield, I think. Worst team we've took on. I'm going to say it again. Swindon. I think I've said it all along since summer. I think they've been in pretty much deep trouble just with everything. I think Ian Holloway ain't going to save them either. I think they're in pretty much dire straits, me personally. But yeah, I thought we were going to say something about Bradford game then, but cheers, pal.
No, well, what did you think of the game on the weekend? Was it good? Do you think that was you at your best level, or do you think that you've still got level to go?
No, we've still got levels to go up. Yeah, we still connect, still clicking, but I was very happy with Bradford game. Obviously, I go home and away, and I was here again at weekend. So Bradford game was really good. Like I said, we had that many chances. We could have been 4 or 5 nil up at half time, and that was no exaggeration. We were just too quick. We're a really fast team when we get going. We're really fast. Greensby said same about us, that we were really quick, and we're Bradford fans coming out of the ground. We're saying we're the quickest side they've ever seen. Come to Valley Parade for quite a long time. We were really fast, and with Bradford, though, a point on Bradford, though, is I was just surprised with how high their defensive line were. They were like pretty much on halfway line, and that just gives us the space behind them, to run with Kyle Hurst and Molyneux. That's how it worked. And well, McCann, tactical genius, just you, how to play against Graham Alexander. I'm sure Jack will analyse it and probably agree with me here, but who knows? But but yeah, Bradford game, yeah, with Bradford, they're a good side. It was a good game. Don't get me wrong, they won't be far off playoffs from that performance, from what I saw, but we were just too good for them. That's it. And I think that's what's going to get us up the line at the end of the day.
Danny there with a great detailed analysis. Danny, thank you for coming on, mate. Hopefully have you on late in the season when maybe the job's done for you and you can come back to that Bradford game as a statement. Danny, thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, cheers, pal. Cheers for having me.
Oh, man. Appreciate
See you
it. Thanks
later.
very much. Danny there, great view from him. As always, as well, as we get on this channel, I can still not use technology. Oh, my God. There we go. We are going to quickly go on to Crew 3, Tranmere 1, and Grimsby against MK Dons before we get Ben in from the Fools Rush In podcast. Crew 3, Tranmere 1. Crew Alexander unbeaten in their last 4 Football League games against Tranmere, winning 3 of which, and are now 4 games on succession without a defeat for 1990 against Tranmere Rovers in that period, the best run they've had. Crew have won 2 of the battles, won 7 of the last 10, drawing 2, and unbeaten in the last 6 at home. It all started off with a Harvey Saunders foul on the Crew man. He squared it to Connor Jennings. However, it was Crew who had the last laugh. They managed to get back into the game and then win it, topping off a good week, winning away at Fleetwood, getting a point against Salford. And after that poor start where they lost to Barrow, Chesterfield and drew 0-0 to home to Swindon, they've responded really well. Tranmere only 1 win in 9 matches, losing 5 draws, 3 defeats in that as well, creating an expected goals of 0.43 at the weekend as well. Only team in League 2 to score less than 11 goals on 8, second lowest expected goals on 9.4. Only Harrogate have a worse one. Great result for the Railway men, but poor day out from Tranmere, not backing up that win.
Yeah, and like you said, it was a blatant foul on Cooney. I can't believe that the referee didn't see that. It was an obvious barge in the back, but obviously he must have thought it was shoulder to shoulder. And Crew, they're not at the best in terms of starting 11. They're relying on Shiloh Tracy to lead the line, but he's done an amazing job. I thought against Fleetwood when they went on the counter, he was sort of leading them up the pitch and getting them in the final third and good dangerous areas. And he scores a double with Ryan Cooney 2 assists, who scores a penalty against Fleetwood. And Tracy, he's 26, I think, so not the oldest. And he didn't really, I don't think, get the run out he probably wanted at Cambridge. So he stepped down to lead 2 at Crew. And now he's leading the line out of position, but he's so direct that he'll always run the channels and he'll always get in really, really good areas. But at the same time, he scored 2 goals and he was in around the 6-yard box. So he can position himself like an actual number 9, which is great. And Crew get Dimitri back, and when they beat us in midweek, they had a average age, I think, of 21 point something at the back, and that was without Mickey Dimitri. So that's fantastic. That even when they don't have him, they can stick together as a really, really young group, and win games of football. And Tranmere, obviously they scored and shouldn't have really been a goal, and you would have thought it may have got them the momentum to say, right, you know what, we've got the early goal, so let's go and try and get another. But obviously they didn't, and the joint lowest scorers in the EFL with Swansea. Like you said, they're creating very little, and there's nothing really there for him, Tranmere. I know we say this every week, and we don't have an agenda against Tranmere, but there's just nothing to really have some hope about Tranmere. Only really Amari Patrick.
And Harvey Saunders is starting to come into his own a little bit as well,
Yeah.
and that is a small positive as well. I think Crewe have got all the gears that they've got. I don't think they've been great the last 2 or 3 games, but they've got 7 points, and that's a side at League Two that know how to win when they're not the best. They can bring a Bogle on, they can bring someone on, and that's with them with plenty of injuries. They've still found a way to win, and in the end, the other day they probably should have had 3 or 4 penalties against Fleetwood. They ended up getting it, winning the game, and Ryan Cooney, big pressure on his shoulders, took the penalty really well as well. We will move on to Grimsby against MK Dons. MK Dons have won 3 on the bounce, scoring 8 and only conceding 3 times as well, winning 4, drawing 2, losing 1 in their last 7 games under Scott Lindsay. 7 from 7 previously, so that's 6 under 6 under Mike Williamson as well. Gilbin has got a 5th goal of the season as well. 18 goals, 10 assists in his last 62 games for the Dons as well. And MK Dons have now won 3 consecutive away matches in the EFL for the first time since a run of 4 between February and March 2022. Remember when they went away at Rotherham in that period and won 1-0. I think Scott Twine scored. I think the way it went away at Sunderland and won as well, in a big run for them as well. They've dropped down a little bit, but slowly getting back to winning ways. As Grimsby fans said before, can I have you how to win a game of football at home? I won't be asking Fleetwood fan, believe me. Absolutely not. But great result for them. Grimsby up and down, still not doing too badly, but MK Dons, they are clicking into gear just outside those playoffs now.
Yeah, and you kind of expected it really with Lindsay, because he had the perfect players to portray his style of play, and he had like Danny said, MK Dons have probably got one of the best 11s in the league, and I think when a manager's coming in and trying to play his style of play, it's important that obviously he's got the right sort of players. It's like Williamson, who's gone to Carlisle. He still wants to maintain his style of play, but he hasn't got the right players to do that. So that's why Carlisle are where they are. And that's why they haven't picked up after the sacking of Simpson. But yeah, like you said, MK are clicking, and Lindsay's a strict manager. He's not the most experienced, I don't think. I think his first
only
or
had
second
Crawley.
job. Yeah, it was at Crawley, and he's got experience of tuning a Crawley side that weren't the favourites at all to even get mid-table. I mean, they were favourites to go down, and he overachieved with them playing his style of football, and just think, what he could do with an MK Don side who were expected to be up there, and he'll demand a lot from them. I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, he said, a draw's no good to me. We need 3 points. That's sort of the standards that he sets, and with obviously the players playing under Williamson, who seems a bit of a quiet manager. You weren't really expecting him to have a go at the players. You've got a completely different mindset now, and I think this could give the MK Dons players and fans the encouragement they need to push up to that the top 3 to challenge Port Vale, who are on a roll.
I personally think that he's done phenomenal since coming in, and I thought it'd take a lot longer for him to authorise his stamp a little bit as well. He did very well at Crawley, but sometimes going from a smallish club to a decent sized club. They are not the biggest club in this division. I think that I can probably name you 7 or 8 that are bigger than them in this division alone. But I like the arrogance of it. I like the way that all the pressure's now on him, and they're now being that horrible club where before they're being a bit nice and going to Stadium MK, big stadium, not a lot of crowd there. It's quite easy there to go get 3 points in the past few years, which you don't want. So very interesting. Talking about managerial turnover and clubs that just seem to be absolute basket cases at times, we are going to bring in Ben from the Fools Rushing podcast. Ben, great name first of all, and thank you for joining us. How are we?
I'm very well, thank you, Ben and Jack. Yeah, pretty good. It's never a dull moment at Swindon, and it continues to be so. And you're right with basket case. We're absolute Fruit Loop at the minute.
If you could just explain to the viewers as well, and us we see it from the outside and we hear different things as well. Maybe in just your own words, what's going on at Swindon Town off the pitch as well? Obviously, on it you're competing just about at the bottom end of the table, but off it there's a lot of problems off the pitch at Swindon Town, isn't there?
There's been lots of issues off pitch, probably for the last 10 years or so at Swindon, because we've had numerous of questionable owners, which has led us to be where we are right now. I think we've had some rotten luck, to be honest. And it still continues to where we are now. I think we're on our 6th permanent manager under Clem Mulfooney, who took the club on in 2002. Yeah, 2002. So we go through a manager every 6 months or so at the moment, which is no good. Who had like half the season last season as an interim before Kennedy came in. Yeah, the fans aren't really too happy with what's going on with the club, the way it's being run. The people involved with the club as well. I think you'll need a whole show if you want me to dissect it properly of what we're unhappy about. But long and short story. So actually, to be fairness, the club actually put some money up front in the summer. The remit for Kennedy was to push for at least a top 7 place. The depth's a lot better than it was last year. The experience is a lot better than it was last year, but results have not improved at all. In fact, they've gone a little bit worse, which has left to Kennedy's demise. Continuity in management is important. We needed some stability, but it really couldn't go on with Kennedy. We were only going one way. And the squad that we've got actually is, in my opinion, a little bit better than our league position suggests, but the results haven't proven as that. And we've gone for, well, you could have given me 100 new guesses on the next manager. I wouldn't have guessed Holloway once. It was a bit random, especially when it's like announced an hour after the Kennedy sacking. So obviously that was in the pipeline for quite some time. And then, they've obviously got to be speaking to him more than like the couple of days that he said that. As these things take a while to sort out, don't they? So yes, where we are right now, it's going to be interesting again, because whether we're crap or whether we're all right and we pulls us through with Holloway, it's never going to be dull. Obviously, his track record, as a manager or as a whole, is reasonably impressive for this level because of what he's done the first part of his career. I'd much rather the Holloway from 2014-13 and that Holloway rather than the one that left Grimsby. But obviously, we've had a lot of Grimsby hashtagging STFC on Twitter, telling me exactly what they think of it, which isn't great. But there was another podcast, actually, Low Stranger podcast, where one came on and actually just gave a balanced, detailed sort of stuff that went on at Grimsby. He was, it was during COVID. He didn't really want to be there. Football was back, but his wife was quite ill. I think, she had quite a poor illness, so he didn't really want to be involved or around. He had to take on numerous roles at the club, which he didn't really do because he just really wanted to manage. The signings were poor. A lot of the good players had gone. There was no budget. He had really, he quite lost interest a little bit on that job. It just went really tits up for them at Grimsby. I'm hoping the Swindon thing is going to be a little bit better. It's local to him at least anyway. So, he's a local boy. He lives about half an hour away from the training ground. He knows the club. He would have managed the club, played against Swindon and played against Swindon in much better days when we were hovering around the Championship in League One. So he knows the fan base. He knows what the club can be. He identifies with that. So hopefully there's a little bit more. And being away from the game for 4 years or so, hopefully that bit of hunger is back in him and that drive because he wanted to get back in. So I'm hoping we get that, but there's going to be a risk. I personally, it could go either way with him. I think he could galvanise the season and we could climb steadily up the league. I'm not expecting miracles, but also he could very capable of taking us down. Go either way.
Jack, obviously we've covered Swindon a little bit. If you had to ask Ben something about them, kind of what would you think? Because obviously I was going to ask about Holloway, but you've perfectly answered that brilliantly there. So thank you very much for that. What would your question be?
Did you see anything change drastically in the game? I know that it doesn't help with having a red card so early on, so you can't really, sum up a perfect tactical breakdown, because obviously that'll change a lot in the game. But I noticed on the highlights that you stayed off Gillingham a bit. The first goal came from
Yeah.
staying off them and a ball over the top. So, and then under Kennedy, I thought you were a bit more aggressive in that area. Do you think that's something that's already changed, sort of not being
Well,
too aggressive and being more cautious?
it wasn't, obviously the appointment only was made like the day before, and he wasn't actually going to take guard. But in a Holloway fashion, was supposed to be sat in the director's box. But it was actually, and I go in Don Rogers stand, which is directly opposite the Arkles, and you can see him in his little, what's his name, Breaking Bad, little Breaking Bad hat. Anyway, just running up and down the touchline, behind the advertising boards, just trying to scream and shout at the bench what he wanted. He might as well just gone and sat on the bench, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
The game itself was, the first 10 minutes were great, because there's always, even when the manager's gone and the new ones just come in, everyone wants to impress. Everyone puts, their best performance in themselves because they want to impress the new guys. So there was a little bit of bad manager bounce there. The first 10 minutes were pretty much, the intensity was great. The energy was great. It was all Swindon. And a stupid red card happened, which was a clear red after watching a replay, like fourth floor. It's terrible, straight through 3 games. I think there was about a 10-minute period where Gillingham absolutely battered us, where we were 6s and 7s, and they scored in that period. But from that moment on, after that, I think we managed the game brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. I think we nullified anything they had. They made forced Bycroft into like one more half-decent save from about the 20th minute to the end of the game. And we basically, first half, we just tried to stay in the game. Second half, we just sort of, as the game progressed, we sort of stepped up. And the last 15 minutes, we pushed the button a little bit. And, the last 20 minutes, you can sense that something was happening and we're just going to get that one chance. Luckily, that one chance came in the 93rd minute, and Harry Smith popped in, which sets up Holloway for this week. So the players are in a lot better mood this week. We've pretty much got a fully fit side. Everyone's nearly there. So that he's got that to pick from as well. And he's got 2 cup games to get it right before the MK Dons game. So it's, the performance was better. We would have lost that game under Kennedy. Absolutely would have caved in. But you get that when the manager just leaves. It's sort of like, can you still do it 6-7 games down the line?
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's always a new manager bounce. That absolutely is a thing. So we've had that against us loads. So we'll just see what Holloway does. It's going to be attacking. We've got some good players. Just see where we are and what happens.
Just quickly, I'd like to get your thoughts, because before I leave Jack to ask the last question, 3 players that we know a lot about, that I watched quite a lot, was Dan Butterworth, Gavin Kilkenny last season at Fleetwood, and Cabango Shamanga. Now, Shamanga wasn't the greatest for Fleetwood. Kilkenny, I either thought he was either an 8 or a 3 for Fleetwood. And Butterworth struggled in a Fleetwood shirt. How would you assess the time at Swindon? Because they're all fairly new. I think they all came in the summer window.
Yeah. They did right at the end of the window as well. Kilkenny, I think at this level, he's really, really good, but he needs good players around him as well. He moves the ball really well. He's an intelligent player. And I think he's quite clever for this level. I think, but he needs good players around him. He needs a good side, and he needs a good manager. At this level, I think he's cracking. Obviously, he could do it in Fleetwood in League One, but I think he needs a good team around him. I think for a struggling team, he has less of effect and less effect, because obviously you had that last season when he's on it and the team's playing well. Usually, the team's playing well because he's on it. Because he's that heartbeat of centre of midfield who picks a pass, sprays about, just does all the good things in the midfield. Butterworth, he's sort of a 1 in 5 player, isn't he? He's capable of just picking up that ball and doing those mazy runs. He's direct, which is good, but then also he just sort of drifts by and nothing does. And that really goes on much with him. Again, I'm hoping that he's put in a sort of better position. He's better in a 10. He's been playing more 8 under Kennedy because he's a little bit more reserved, and that's not really his bag at all. He's have a sort of wide front man or an 8 or a 10. Hopefully now he gets put in his preferred position of 10 and he's just allowed to have that free role. Shishmanga, I like him, needs goals. I want him to go on a little run and I'd love him because he works hard, tirelessly puts hard. He's got the pace. He's really strong, really, good hold up player. But he scored one and then he got injured. He's just back again. But like against Salford midweek last week, he was slipped in through on goal. And a player just got a little bit of him before he bared down the keeper. But he sort of snatched at his chance a little bit. And it's just like confident Shishmanga just flips it in. But he just needs that little bit. He needs that little bit in front because he's not missing many chances, he's just not getting any. Now, that's a worry if you're a striker. Because, again, if you're missing 3 or 4 and you're thinking, oh, he'll come. But he's just not getting many. And at the moment, he's probably a bench warmer behind Glatz and Smith at the moment, who's on fire. By the way, to be quite honest, Smith at the moment, he's 3-3. He's making up for that really dumb elbow at Barrow earlier in the season. Really bizarre decision to do in your own corner. So that's the 3 really. There's a lot of players that could do better because obviously we're 22nd in the league, so by and large we've been crap. So I can't say anyone's been brilliant. But there's players that who are better, who have the capabilities of being better than what they're showing at the minute. We're Fulham because, we've pretty much got cover on every position. We've got players that played on a high level. We've got players with experience of promotion at this league. We should be doing a lot better, but we're just not, which is why Kennedy got the boot. We'll see what Holloway can do. But there's no guarantees in football. I'm not going to say we're not too good to be struggle or too good to go down because quarter away for the season and we're just about keeping our noses just above the waterline. It's been dreadful largely, to be honest.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really
no
appreciate
worries.
it. Go and check out the Fools Rushing podcast as well. Some good Swindon content and very insightful on Holloway. So thank you very much and all the best for the rest of the season.
We're on at 9 o'clock, by the way. So after this show, if anyone fancies a bit more of me yabbering on, we're on at 9 o'clock tonight, Mondays and Fridays. We'll talk about Swindon and Holloway and all that nonsense going on. So, feel free to head on to that on your old YouTube. But, cheers, have me, lads. Much appreciated. Have a lovely evening. Love to come on again. Take care.
See you later.
Thank you so much, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. So we will have to rush through the games now. We've probably got around about 20 minutes left of the show. So as the games go on, they do get less entertaining. Port Vale go 10 games unbeaten, Jack. AFC Wimbledon only won 1 of their last 10 away games, losing 7 of which. Vale won 8 of the last 10. Phenomenal, Vale. Vale are now the longest run since their 11-game unbeaten run since January and September 2020. No team in the EFL has than Port Vale has gone on longer runs than them. Phenomenal run. They went on a good run last year. Didn't quite work out for them. But this year, Jaden Stocker scored his first goal at Vale Park since he scored 2 against Vail earlier in the year for Fleetwood. Great result. Wimbledon did fight back. They could have nicked a goal at the end as well. Connor Ripley, the bar comes to the rescue. That is the look you get when you're at the top of the table. Brilliant Vail. Great fan base. Deserve it. 5-goal thriller.
Yeah, and like Andrew just said, Loney Richards, he got a goal and assist like Stockley did, but also Cover. Sometimes, he's a wing back, but he's pushing onto the last line of defence and he's getting Vale forward. He's a really good player that I like. And I think I said a few weeks ago, and certainly said it in my article on Port Vale before Fleetwood had them. He's not the best one-on-one dribbler, but because he's so quick and his acceleration's great and he has that burst of pace, he uses it to his advantage, and that's at times what you need from your wing back. He's energetic. He'll go from box to box, sort of being aggressive in the final third, but also doing his defensive duties. And he's not just Cover, though, in the back line that can step up. Sang also creates chances from the outside centre half. And then if you play Deborah there, you've got more of an aggressive approach out of possession. And I think Vale will go on to win the league now. I know it's early on in the season, but Darren Moore was backed in the summer with the recruitment, and they've got 2 engines in Crowsdale and Garrity to play with. Richards and Chislett can bring sort of the flair in that side. They've got experience with Hennigan at the back. Ripley's a great keeper. Stockley can hold up the ball, so they've got that good balance of depth all around the pitch, and they've got players that they can bring on too. Like Curtis didn't get the start. Talaj hasn't started in the past 2 games, so also you can play Payton and all. So just Vale, you've got lots of quality around the squad. Yeah, and also Byers, like as Zach just said, that they haven't got. He's probably the best player in the league if he's on it, Byers. So yeah, Vale, they need to make Vale Park a fortress. Like just keep doing that, and I think they'll be a real hard side to knock off the top.
If you haven't already, please subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated as well. And keep liking the show as well. This is the busiest League Two show has ever been. So thank you so much for watching as well. Cameron Kouassi got a goal and assist the other day for Salford, and then might again getting another goal. The left winger that's had to kind of play as a left wing back role this year a little bit at times. 3 goals now for him. Obviously scored some important goals. It won away at Chesterfield as well. And this is I'd say a Colchester side that Jack that you were saying were huge underdogs this year, and we're going to go on a really good run. I wasn't quite sure. No, it was the other way around. Great result for Salford. When you look at it, they've not actually had a bad season. They've got 19 points from 13 games. They're only a point behind Gillingham with a game in hand. And you look at Barrow, who've had a good start. They're 2 points behind them with a game in hand. And they're only 2 points behind MK Dons. If they win tomorrow, their game in hand against Fleetwood, they could go as high as 8th in the table. So it's not been a bad start. They've got a good squad. Hit and miss. Not been great in the metrics. Colchester, they're just not winning enough games. They've drawn 6, lost 5, won 2, conceded 20 goals, still conceding soft goals.
Yeah, I put a tweet out asking, what's going on with Colchester, and it's the intensity that's not there. They're also missing Teddy Bishop through injury now. Samson Tovard, who started the season really well, and formed a really good partnership with Lyle Taylor. He's also injured. So you've got some injuries there, but you've still got players like Jack Payne and Lyle Taylor who's still in the squad who can produce moments of magic, really. And, I do take the rip at you because you said that Colchester were underdogs, but at the start of the season, you could, see why they would be in the mid-table mark with the Carlisle brothers having the first full season in charge, and at this level they are. Danny Carlisle's a really good manager, and getting players like Payne and Bishop to play in this division, and also Taylor when he's on it. They're really, really good signings, and it's just not clicking for them. And you said about Salford, I had 23rd, I think, in my predictions to go down because I thought that the high profile players won't sort of cut it, but Kelly Namar has been brilliant, and Kouassi's on loan from Blackpool, sort of a raw player, didn't really do much at Blackpool, but he stepped down to League Two, and I think he's going to be a real handful when he's on form. Hopefully not tomorrow, though. Hopefully he has a stinker tomorrow.
Yeah. Talking about poor home form, Carlisle United lost again at home. Fortress, Brunton Park, Cheltenham win back-to-back away games and slowly picking up that 17 points from 14, but that's also 7 points from the last 3, beating Colchester and Carlisle, 2 sides that they'd want to try and beat this year as well. Good clean sheet on the road for them as well. That's 5 defeats in 8 for Mike Williamson, and he's a very dull bloke. I listened to him and he's like, and he's like very uninspiring. And when you're in a dogfight, I thought it was a poor appointment for what they had. They've not got the type of players to suit Mike Williamson's side yet. To call for sacking after 8 games, I think is ludicrous because he come in 8 games ago with players that can't play his style. I think you need to give him until at least January, or why have you appointed him as well? They are 4 points adrift. They've lost 10 games this year. Another goalkeeper error by Harry Lewis. Again, Archer with another goal as well. I don't know where we keeps going for this Carlisle side. It's just so flat.
Yeah, personally, I think Williamson should go. Personally, I know that obviously
after 8 games.
Yeah,
seriously?
because if he doesn't go, no, it's not on him. But for his own sake, before it gets too hostile and before Carlisle get in a massive dogfight, then it's going to be on him for not trying to get a plan B, because realistically, he
Yeah,
hasn't got a plan B. And it was on the pit axe for appointing him
yeah.
a brand new style of football. They didn't wait until next season and they did it urgently. And
Should have done it
I
this
think
season
Williamson
earlier.
should leave. And the appointment at the time, you're thinking who can play style of play, and for his own sake and for Carlisle's safety in the football league, they need to get just any manager that can grind results out, no matter how they play, because that side ain't going to play the football that Williamson wants. You're thinking they're going to turn a corner when they really put a show on against Harrogate, but still draw. There's improvements in that game, but then they lose away at Walsall, then they lose against Cheltenham, who haven't had the best of starts this season. So, the owners have got the appointment wrong. It's not on Williamson, but why he would leave MK Dons, I know he weren't like that. I know he probably would have got sacked at the time, but why would you leave that job where you had more of a chance of turning it around than going to Carlisle, where you're not helping yourself with the squad that you've got?
I agree. I can see it. I just think that stupid appointment. I think I
Yeah,
said
it's
it's
the
basically
owner's fault for
like giving a
appointing him.
Michelin 5-star restaurant manager in terms of football. It's this great football and giving him a spag bowl 60p ready meal from the Sainsbury's to make into a good ready meal overnight. It's not going to happen. It really isn't. There's only so much you can do. Very quickly now, we'll go through some of the less glamorous games. Barrow, a good point away at Bromley would be before the game. But when you 1-0 up till the 91st minute and Michael Cheek scores a penalty, his 7th goal for the season as well, and towards his tally, 8 goal comps in there, 15 have come from Michael Cheek. However, that's still now only 1 win in their last kind of 11 games for Bromley as well. Barrow slowly sliding down a little bit, not quite performing as well. When you look at it, defeats away at Gillingham after that Chelsea game hasn't helped. Defeats away at Doncaster, again, another good side. Morecambe at home was a poor one. Then Accrington, then this. Stop the rot. Point, though. Big games in Colchester at home to get back to Fortress Holker Street.
Yeah, out of the last 9, they've only won 1. That was against Cheltenham. So the
There's
start
always a
that they
Cheltenham
had, yeah, it's just that obviously the start that they've had, they haven't really made it sustainable. Walsall, we thought that them and Barrow, wow, they're top of the league already, but Walsall have made it sustainable. Barrow haven't, and it's weird to see this drop off. But like I said, there's no real world beaters in that side. They've obviously got Ben Jackson at left wing back. He's doing what he's doing, a really creative player. Spence, I like him too, but then the rest of them, the 6 or 7 out of 10s at the best, really. They've got Jed Garner, Aqua, Telford, who really, I think, 7 goal a season strikers, really, because they only play with a lone striker, so they're all going to be rotated in and out. And I just think that for Barrow, it's weird because I don't know how they fell off so much, because they have played, Morecambe, Accrington. They obviously beat Cheltenham, but then they played Bromley, and you're thinking, they're the teams that you need to beat. But then they get a point against Notts County, so it is weird how the season's panning out for Barrow now. But yeah, like I say, against Colchester, that's got to be a win.
You talk about front like kind of frontman getting 7 goals. Jatta already on 6. McGoldrick already on 6 as well. You've got Giovanni Brown struggling for goals. Obviously, Jody Jones, that's out injured as well. When you've got those two already, you're going to win a lot of games. A good result against Harrogate. They limited Harrogate to an expected goals of 0.21. 7 shots on target. Great result. Jatta again, nice little finish into the corner as well. Again, Notts County keeping it tight at the back. They've scored 22 goals, carrying on with that kind of nearly 2 per game record as well. And just conceding now under 1 goal where they've halved the defence. So they're a lot better defensively. They're in the top 3 as well. I think things are going well for Notts County this year.
Yeah, definitely. And, with that recruitment in the summer, you've got to tighten up your defence. There's no excuse not to have a tight defence when you're having your recruitment heavily on the defensive line and not so much the forward line, but they're still making use of McGoldrick, sort of a player in and out, and actually started front three, which I thought played well. Brown, McGoldrick, and Jatta. Brown hasn't set the world alight yet, but I'm sure that'll give him some confidence playing with two ruthless forwards in McGoldrick and Jatta, hoping that he can create for both of them. And Cerula, I thought, was really good on the right. They struggled with Jody Jones before he got injured. Like, how can he play on the right when he's left-footed? It sort of doesn't gain fluidity, but fair play to Cerula. He created a lot of good chances, and because they've heavily recruited in defence, now keeping clean sheets, which is great, but they're not as prolific at home for me. They've also had 2 defeats, 1-0 losses to Gillingham and Vail, 2 sides that won't dominate the ball like Notts County do, but they've only scored 4 in the last 5 at home, and they've scored 10 altogether, but they came the first 2 against Fleetwood and Grimsby, so they're not as ruthless, especially at home, but then the digging in games against sides that will try and play at them, but then they're also dominating. It's just about getting that clinical edge. But it'll happen when you don't have 24 assist Jody Jones in the lineup, and when obviously Langstaff they sold to Millwall.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially when Jody Jones has just started scoring goals. Like, you think 6 goals, 24 assists, you want more goals from him. If you are
and
new,
Crowley weren't in the 11 either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I know about that. Thank you very much, EFL Fantasy. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me if you can. Let's try and see if we can get to 16,750. We're 5 subscribers away. It's free to do so. Just press subscribe. Very free. You just subscribe and you'll see content pop up in your page as well. And like the stream if you haven't. We're very, very grateful for all the support tonight. It means so much to both of us. And anyway, 2-0 draws to go through very quickly. Accrington Stanley against Walsall. 0-0, Jack. Good point for Walsall on the road. They could have had more. Nathan Lowe was denied by a Billy Krelling save. Other than that, a good week for Walsall. Good couple of weeks. That's 10 points gained for them.
Yeah, first 0-0 of the season for Walsall. And they've only failed to score in 2 games, I think, which isn't bad overall. Tranmere at the start of the season were really defensively resolute, and but yeah, well, I mean, I've got to give Ben some credit. He is a really good influence, I'll say.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. You won't get a praise from me 2 weeks ago, but you will now.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Sympathy vote.
No, it's a nice gesture, that.
Thanks, mate.
But yeah, for Walsall, it's the first 0 draw of the season, and they didn't score against Tranmere because at the time they were really defensively resolute. And Accrington are now getting more clean sheets under the belt, which is needed because they know they can get the goals at the other end of the pitch with Wally, Jimmy Knowles coming up from National League South Boston, and also Mooney. So they're working with what they've got, and I think it's on the up a bit for Accrington. They're not going to be a side who are going to be mid-table, but they're going to be a side that will dig in, a bit like Morecambe, for me, anyway.
Very quickly, Newport County 0, Fleetwood 0, another point gained. 1 goal in 4 for Fleetwood in scoring 6 away at Walsall. Just can't quite unlock a defence and struggling in games. I thought Tommy Lonergan came on and really made a difference the other day. I did something different. No Keane Harriott on the bench. Maybe a few changes there as well. I think Fleetwood need to be more at it. They need to be better at home. Starting tomorrow against Salford City, Jack. But David Harrington to the rescue. Caden Hughes also signed a new deal today.
Yeah, Harrington made up for his mistake. Bit of a weird pen because I didn't know if he was in the net, if he was out of the net. But until I think Bonds cleared it, I thought, right, yeah, he saved it. I think our weakness is wide areas. You see in the league, Nemain, Barrett, Jackson, all the highest assisters, the wing backs, all like full backs. And that's where the area where League Two sides are hurting one another. And then you've got also Cooney got 2 assists for Crewe, Glennon's on 4 assists, as well as Denver Hume for Grimsby. Said about Cover, the wing backs, not the heartbeat of the side, but they're really influential to the way they play. And I'm not saying that Carl Johnson, Phoenix Patterson, Ryan Broom, and Mackenzie aren't great players, but sometimes it gets frustrating when they can't get the ball in a good area. But is that because we don't have a real good box presence really there? He missed that game because he was illness apparently. Him and
Oh, was
Meepo.
it?
Adam said that they both picked up an illness. So Coughlin and Lanigan were on the bench, and it was a game of nothing, really, to be honest. In the first half, we didn't have a shot on target. Helm should have scored 2, really. He had 1 disallowed for offside. Then the second half, we sit back. We only go at it for the last 10 minutes, and Tuesday, we've got to get it right. I don't want to keep saying this, and I don't want it to feel like we've had a bad start because we haven't, considering the expectations us fans had. But, we really need to beat Salford at home, especially with a game in hand. We've got 2 games in hand at home, Colchester and Salford. I expect us to win them both. And if we don't, obviously, we're not going to be in trouble. But this home form needs to, turn around, really.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much, Jack, for joining me tonight. 65 minutes of the League Two roundup. Thank you to our guests for coming on, Danny and Ben as well. Jack, thank you for joining me as always, mate.
No, it's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for everyone for the support as well. It's been phenomenal. If you could leave us a like on your way out, that'd be grateful. If you could subscribe if you haven't already. We will be back tomorrow night as Fleetwood entertain Salford City at Highbury Stadium. And then there'll be a video late in the week, all being well as well. So I do appreciate everyone's support. Please keep liking, subscribing. It does make a big difference as well. Thank you very much. Big Owen out from me. Jack, any final words, mate?
Well, I'm glad we've had support for Tony in the chat, and this show is dedicated to him.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for everyone's kind words. It really does mean a lot. And I would like to dedicate this show for Tony, and the vlog tomorrow will also be dedicated to him as well. Did a lot of work for me, helped me out no ends. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be sat here today if it wasn't for him. So to Tony.